Hello, welcome back to another video. This is going to be hopefully the beginning of a new series which I am calling Midnight Journaling, where basically I just turn on the camera when I feel like having a journaling session, typically way past my bedtime. I just find that I enjoy journaling a lot more when it's dark out and everything's quiet. It just so happens that it's currently snowing right now, so everything is just perfect. Anyways, this is a little bit different from my usual plan with me's because for one, I am just basically updating all of my planners. I'm not really doing like a beginning to end sort of thing. And in this video, I'm updating my Hobonichi weeks, Hobonichi cousin, and also my reading journal. And then two, usually in my plan with me's, I cut out a lot of my pauses and hesitations just to make the video flow a lot smoother. But in these midnight journaling sessions, I am just leaving in a lot of my pauses and hesitations so you can kind of see more organically how I plan. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this sort of format and let me know for sure if you want to see more. Another difference is instead of just talking about exactly what I'm doing, I plan on just discussing or chatting about random things that pop in my brain. Not necessarily just about planning, but any topic that I fancy, and I think it'll be fun. So in this episode, I want to talk a little bit about reading, especially as an adult, and I guess some tips on how you can read a little bit more. As some context, I have always considered myself to be a bookworm. Ever since I was in elementary school and high school, I read a lot of books. And I think in like grade 9 or grade 10 of high school, there was this like period where I literally finished one book every single day. I think I just did my homework and then all I ever did was just read, and so I was able to finish a book per day. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, I found that as I started university applications, my reading time dwindled, and then it became university time and I had so much more schoolwork to do, and all of my reading time was for schoolwork. And then now that I'm working on TCMC full-time, I just have this endless to-do list, and for a while I honestly just didn't really read a lot, and this made me very sad, especially as someone who takes pride in the fact that I was a bookworm. And it also wasn't just the fact that I didn't have time to read, but also I found that when I did dedicate some time to read, I just wasn't able to focus. I wasn't able to retain anything. I just had so many worries in my brain, so many things demanding my attention that I couldn't focus on the words and retain anything. And honestly, I was very insecure about this. Like, I felt like I was so stupid because I couldn't read. And it's very difficult for me to actually admit this because I think a lot of you know that I love learning and studying, and academics is very important to me. So to say that like I literally just couldn't read a book was it's kind of hard for me to say, but I'm sure there are people out there who feel the same way, and lately I've been able to kind of overcome that, especially in the past year or so, and I've been able to read more consistently, and I thought I would share with you some things that have helped me, and maybe it'll help you as well. So the first thing that I stopped doing was reading books that I thought I should be reading. Back in high school, I read some nonfiction books, but I also read a lot of like fantasy and young adult and just like random fiction books. And they were all books that that intrigued me. But then as I, transitioned into university and became an adult, I don't know where it came from, but I felt this pressure to read quote-unquote productive books, like for example books about business or about the economy, and I even studied economics, so I thought like I should be reading only books about the economy, which was kind of a stupid idea, and also just like things about big ideas and the world and history and all of that, which I will say I do find all of these things interesting. However, I was just putting the pressure on myself to only read these like super dense informational books because I felt like as an adult that is what I should be reading, and if I'm spending time reading anything other than that, then I'm wasting my time. And consequently, I ended up being uninterested in a lot of the things that I was reading, and I couldn't really focus on anything, and I wasn't excited to actually read. Nowadays, I honestly just like read a bunch of random things that interest me, and that involves nonfiction books, but also a lot of fiction books and classics. And I even picked up a graphic novel recently that I thought was just so beautiful, and because I'm intrinsically interested in these books, I am so excited to dive in, and I genuinely cannot wait for a sliver of time to open up these books and read them. The second thing I found to be helpful is setting goals for roughly how many books you want to read during a time span, but not really needing to reinforce it. So my goal is literally just to read 12 books a year. And I know to some people that's very little. I know there are people who read like a book a week, so that's like 52 books, or like 100 books or 150 books per year, which is absolutely incredible. I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. 12 for me is very realistic. In fact, I think last year I read like 21 books or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, having a goal of some sort is really helpful in the sense that, like, for example, we're currently in February, and say I read 0 books this year, then I'm like, it's been 2 months and I read 0 books. I should probably pick up a book soon. Or if it's like June and I've so far read 3 books, then that averages to about 1 book every 2 months. So maybe I can be like, I should probably read a little bit more. So it kind of just ensures that I'm devoting just enough time to read and I'm not putting things off. But at the same time, I don't think you should be reinforcing? Am I pronouncing that right? I'm not sure. I don't think you should be reinforcing these specific goals, because if you put too much pressure on yourself to read X number of books, then you might be tempted to pick books that are shorter in length, or books that are quote unquote easy to read just to meet this quota, and I don't think that's entirely helpful. Like, for example, the book Crime and Punishment, I think it's about 700 or 800 pages. I read that last year and it took me 2 months to read it. And if I had, set a very rigid goal for myself to read 1 book a month, then I would have never picked up Crime and Punishment because it is such a long book. But it was probably the best book that I read last year. So yeah, I think having some sort of goal in mind is good just to keep yourself on track, but don't use it as a way to limit yourself on the books that you end up picking. Number 3 for me was just accepting that certain books, they don't work well with my brain. This could be like completely definite. It could also be that I need to spend a lot more time reading it, and that is totally fine. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm stupid or anything like that. And this is something that I encountered actually with the most recent book that I finished, which was Frankenstein. I think I actually mentioned in my last video that I was having some difficulty reading it. And at one point I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. Like, this is supposed to be, like, I was under the impression that Frankenstein is such an easy read, but it ended up being very difficult. And it actually took me 5 chapters to actually get into it. And then after 5 chapters, I got very involved in the story and I got through it with a breeze. And I guess just a little reminder that some books are difficult to get into, and if it's like really, really difficult to get into, then maybe you can also put it down and come back to it another time. And the 4th thing that has been helping me lately is keeping a reading journal, and I'm going to be making a whole in-depth video about my reading journal. This is what you're seeing on the screen now, and it's been just amazing having a reading journal, and I will again talk more about this in my separate video. Again, there are just so many things that demand my attention, so having a reading journal really helps me get involved in the story and kind of forget about everything else, because I'm just like trying to think of random thoughts to write down and stuff like that, and therefore it makes me read really intentionally and I get the most out of my books. So yeah, if you also have any tips on reading, definitely leave them down below. I would love to read them, and I'm sure other people could find them useful as well. and let me know what you think of this sort of video. I think I'll be back next week with 2 videos. One is going to be my February planner update, which will be going up on March 1st. And then on Sunday, which is my shop anniversary, I will either do a plan with me or like a new release walkthrough of all of the new releases that is happening on Sunday. So let me know which of the 2 you might prefer, because I don't think I can upload 2 videos in a single day. We'll see. So there's about 2 minutes left of this video, and I don't want to just put on some music, so let's talk about what I'm currently writing, I guess. I just finished Frankenstein at the time of filming, and this was my immediate response. It's nothing deep because I haven't really marinated in the story just yet, but yeah, I thought it was a wonderful, wonderful read, and I definitely want to revisit it in the future. And because I finished one book, I was setting up my next book, and so I just put down this like reading tracker emoji, and I just used my pencil to divide the sidebars. Again, I will go over this in my reading journal video. But the next book that I will be tackling is Lust for Life, and it is a book about Vincent van Gogh. I actually started this book a few months back, but then I just didn't continue. Not for any particular reason. I think I just got busy and then I forgot about it. But the parts that I did read was really good, so I want to definitely pick it back up again. I'm just doodling the cover very roughly, which is a portrait of Van Gogh, and I don't think it looks too much like him, but I tried my best. Anyways, I just doodled the cover, and then I also wrote down the title as well as the page number on the shaded area. And then after finishing that, I went back to the Frankenstein sticker and I filled out the stars, which I give this book a 5 out of 5. So I filled in all of the stars. Okay, we are at the end of the video, so I will see you next week. Bye!